You are now tuned in to the We Don't Play station. And I'm your host, Flav Beats. You know how we do. And I'm so excited for today. It's a Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope you're doing well, staying safe. Please keep wearing your masks because we still need you. We love you. So much is going on. So I'm excited for today because we have a guest. And this guest, there's so much to talk about him. So I want him to first introduce himself because it's a pleasure actually connecting with him today. So, stay tuned. You always know I bring the podcast hot. There's always conversation we can actually talk about, bring about. And this time around is going to be very, very interesting. So I definitely want to just keep you in the loop. And definitely you're about to see something that is going to show a lot for it. So stay tight, stay tuned, and stay right here. We're not going nowhere. Shout out to Podmatch, like I always say. And I saw the profile and I was like, this is something that I definitely want to understand more and just hear from your perspective on how things go.
Sure. In what capacity?
In the capacity of understanding your ideas about taking risks, things that you've dealt with, 3 skills that will keep you out of jail or going broke. Why apprenticeship is the best way in the door. Your side hustle ideas, let me just put it like this. Anything that you have in mind that has given you an experience of value and has added that to what you do today is probably something you can actually explain to the people and tell them, hey, if you can do it like this, then it's possible because there's a mindset to it. So that's where I want you to come in and actually give us that full ground understanding. Okay.
Yeah, I can do that. And I think probably one of the biggest things is like mentorship. So we can talk about skills, mentorship, and just having the mindset. I think those are the 3 things that, like, if I look back on my life, what has allowed me to like really get to anywhere, it's been skills, mentorship, and mindset. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then let people know more about you, like who you are, what you do, what's going on, because we just hit it right in.
Okay. Yeah, so are we recording live now? Yeah, we are. Okay. Sorry. So yeah, my background is very diverse. It's kind of, I always tell people like a cat. Have you ever heard the phrase like a cat has 9 lives?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I've lived 9 different lifetimes.
Okay.
So I started, growing up, I played sports. So football, lacrosse, that was like that kept me grounded in school. And after sports, I got into music. So when I graduated from high school, this is gonna date me, but back in like 2004, I jumped into DJing because I would always make the warm-up CDs for all of our games. And in the locker room, when we get hyped, let's go. I would make the mix CDs because back then you had like Kazaa and LimeWire, and you could like download music
right
illegally, or legally, depending on what kind of setup you have. And I was like, okay, well now that I'm done with sports, I'm making this transition into this next phase of my life. What do I enjoy? What's the next passion that's gonna come into my life that's gonna fill that void? So I got into music and entertainment. I started a DJ company. One of my friends back then, he's no longer my friend, but he said, what makes you think you can do that? What makes you think you can start a company and DJ? And I go, well, watch me. So from there, I got into podcasting, real estate before podcasting, then podcasting, then events, and then now I work for a tech startup, and I mentor people on how to pivot their careers and how to basically use skills, mentorship, and mindset to basically get anywhere that you want to be, because those have always been the fundamental three things that have allowed me to get to wherever I wanted to go.
That's amazing, because I think from what I can hear, it sounds like there's more tenacity in your vision, where you still have to, look at the doubts and look at the odds and still go through and say, hey, this is what I actually want to do, besides anything that's going on, despite all the negatives. Because sometimes you can be told, hey, you can't make this, you can't do that. Well, you can't, because I'm doing it, so why not watch me, like you said? And that usually brings a lot of hope, optimism. It creates that doubt cloud out of your mind that you're like, okay, this is actually what I want to do. And when you actually do it, you look back, you're like, yeah, I did that. So how do people get unstuck? Because that's where actually people start from. Just like everybody else starts from somewhere. It starts with an idea. Oh, I don't have capital. Oh, I don't have friends. Oh, I don't have... You're going to make some type of 99 times excuse to make that happen before you're like, okay, I quit. So how do you get unstuck from doing those things in repetition, but getting out of that your life, your business, your career, and getting something out of it that actually adds value? How do you get unstuck from that?
Yeah, I think it really comes down to mindset, Faber. Like it's you. If you think that you can't do it, you've already lost the game, right?
Right.
If you feed into the negativity, or somebody who they don't even have your vision, they can't even see your dream, and they're giving you advice on what you should do. Like, why would you even take advice from somebody like that?
Right.
They're making you small because they can't even see what God or the universe or whatever you believe in has given you. So they are not somebody you should go to for advice.
Right.
Who you should be looking to for advice is somebody who is 3 to 5 years ahead of where you want to be. So let's say I want to be, a professional lacrosse player, or if I want to be one of the best podcast guys or social media. I know you do a lot of social media stuff, right? So you would look to somebody who is already where you're at, and that's the person that you would take advice from, right?
Right.
It could be a virtual mentor. It could be a person that you reach out to and you say, hey, I just want to learn from you, like an apprenticeship, which we can talk about. There's a lot of different things that you can do, but you don't listen to the people that haven't been there. That's the worst thing you can do. Right? So that's one part of it. The other part of it is the mindset. Right?
Yeah.
So you have to build an impenetrable fortress around your mind. You have to have this. Like if you think back in like the day where like people wore armor and chainmail, you have to put on your armor.
Yeah.
And that armor has to be impenetrable by any doubt, negativity, or anything that's going to throw your way.
Yeah.
Because that stuff is going to come. And it's a practice, right? It's not like every day is going to be perfect. Some days you're going to wake up and you're going to be like, I want to quit, right? You're going to wake up and be like, why am I doing this? But if you stay in a place where you're always, just remembering why you're doing it, connecting to your vision, your purpose, why do you want to do this? I want to feed my family. I want to be able to retire my wife. I want to be able to, make sure my parents have a good retirement. Whatever it is, your why has to be bigger than the situation.
Yeah.
And presently, so.
That's definitely
that would
a
be
deep
my
one.
Advice.
Yes, that's a deep one, because when you understand your why, I believe you can know how, and then you can now start placing actual action steps, action goals, action-oriented material that says, okay, this is tangible enough to come back in a quarter, in 2 quarters, because now you're becoming more strategic. You're coming from a place of control. Because now you understand, for me to get to A, to get to B, to get to C, then I can't skip B. Because if I skip B, I'm probably going to drown at C. So you have to think about how do you build that connection and build that, resilience most of all. And what would you say would be the best way to build those skills in increasing, earning potential? Because people always say, okay, I'm doing this for this reason. Sometimes I just want to help. Sometimes I want to make profit. So people have those like I said in the beginning, doubts. So how do you give that best practice for someone to build those skills in earning that potential that they can see, they can write down, they can visualize, they can pray about, they can be about, and then they can actually act it out?
So in terms of the skills, right? Like there's anybody can learn skills, right? Like there's talent and then there's skills. Like LeBron James is talented. You're not gonna beat him in basketball unless you're the next guy who's just as talented, right?
Right.
But you can learn a skill. You can learn how to play basketball. You know, I think it's AAU or whatever, right? The gym leagues, right? You can play in that league if you learn the skill. So when I talk about skill acquisition, there's a couple of ways you can do that. It can be self-paced. So you going on like a Udemy, YouTube, there's so many things out there. LinkedIn Learning, there's no excuse for anyone to say that they don't have the skills, right?
Right.
You may not have, if you have an internet connection and you have a cell phone, you can learn anything. You can Google it. There's all of these platforms, right? And most of the stuff is free, right? Most of the stuff is free. So it can either be self-paced, right? So that's the slower route, or it could be through mentorship or an apprenticeship. So for me, kind of going back to the example, whenever I was thinking about doing something, so in real estate or in DJing or throwing events, I always found somebody who was 3 to 5 years ahead of where I was at.
Yeah.
And I looked at where I could be of service to them, because I wasn't going to ask them to pay me, right? Because I wanted to learn from them. But I also I needed to make it worth their time for them to, you know, and be able to sit down with me for an hour or let me take them to lunch. So what I would do was I would kind of stalk these people, not in a creepy way, but I would see like, okay, what is something that they're lacking that I'm already good at? So like, what's a skill? Do a skill inventory of what I'm good at that they don't have. So okay, maybe I go in and I look and their website's trash or their Instagram is trash. And maybe I'll jump on Canva and I'll design like 4 or 5 Canva templates for them with like their book or whatever they have, their product or just something, right? A quote, there's some of their quotes. Yeah. And I'll DM them and I'll slide into the DMs and be like, hey, just wanted to let you know, would love to, work with you someday in some capacity and learn from you. I have a lot of respect for you. By the way, here's 3 templates I made for you on Canva with your top quotes from this podcast interview you did that I loved. And bam. And so now you're coming from a place of service instead of a place of want. Yeah. Right? And so think about that person that's successful. Everybody's coming to them saying, what can you give for me? What can you do for me? What can you do for me? No one's coming and saying, here you go. Take this. This is yours. I created this for you. The person who does that is not only going to stand out, but they're also going to be able to build a connection. So now you don't ask for anything, by the way, when you do that. You just give it to them. You just drop it on them. You bless them with the gift, walk away. Now, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days later, you circle back. Hey, just wanted to, check in and see if we could, have a virtual coffee chat, Zoom and coffee, right? Right. And that's when in the meantime, you're also thinking about, okay, what else can I deliver a value to them? So when you get on that call, because they're going to give you a call, right? They may not be able to do it in that moment, but you got to, there's the follow-up. Right. When you get on that call, that's when you just boom, 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 value, value, value. I saw these 3 things that you could be doing. I saw this and this and this. And look, you don't even have to know this, right? That's the cool part. Yeah. You can see that there's an opportunity and then go and jump on YouTube or LinkedIn Learning or Skillshare or Udemy and learn what they need and then come back to them and pitch it to them. So now you're in a place of service. You don't charge them anything and you just work with them and you learn for a year, 6 months, 24 months. And you just soak in that knowledge. And that's the there's not a shortcut in life. I don't believe in taking shortcuts. But if you want to acquire a skill at a very fast, rapid rate, the best way is to learn through somebody who's at the top of their game, and that's how you get in the door with that scenario I just described.
That's amazing. That's definitely the way to go, because now when you think about how people create that intention for themselves, those are goals you just mentioned right now. They're not just steps that you have to randomly pick up. It's actually a step and say, okay, this guy is using red in his timeline, in his grid. Can I use a different hue and create another impression? Like, you have to go deeper than just the canvas. You have to go deeper than the understanding that, oh, this is what his font is. He may not like it just because you probably put his logo upside down. You probably forgot that, you know? So you gotta be careful. Don't just be like, oh yeah, get this, get that. Know why. Because if that person actually likes it, then you're in business. Now you're actually speaking something that makes sense, because at the end of the day, it's a two-way transaction. It's a two-way reaction. It's not one way, take this, take that. It's more like, hey, I'll give you this, then I'm gonna get this back and we can use this to build that. And then that's how you grow. And then if you're able to do that with relationships, because people say, oh, relationships, I don't want to talk to this person, I'm shy. But for you, networking, especially today and how things are going digitally, like people are meeting from different Zoom calls, different meetings, different lives. So how do you build these relationships in networks like Clubhouse, for example, and still stay on the goal, still stay on the why, without being spammy, without being pitchy, without being salesy?
I think you just have to just care. You just have to give a damn, right? It's not, if it's about you, then you will feel spammy. If it's about you, then you'll feel like you're trying to sell, right? But if it's about them, it's just like, what can I do for them? And this is a very hard mindset for people to shift into, especially when you need to eat, right? Like, when you ain't got no food in the fridge, it's hard to come from an abundant place. Let's be honest.
Right.
You're like, I gotta pay rent. Shoot, I don't got time to be sending DMs and creating Canva images. I gotta eat today.
Exactly.
But it's and it's different for everybody, right? Like maybe you need to have a source of income, a job, right? A 9 to 5, and that's your base. And that 9 to 5 gives you the ability to have all of your basic needs covered, and then you can work on your business or your side hustle and come from a place of true giving, right? Of truly abundance. But when entrepreneurs have to deal with this all the time, right? They're scarce. Their mindset is scarcity. They have to sell. Yeah. And when you're in that mindset, people can smell that. It's like, hey, you're trying to sell me shit. I don't care. I don't want your stuff. Get away. Right. Stay away from me. But the opposite of that is true when you come from a place of abundance and you're like, look, I'm just gonna serve. I'm just gonna hook this person up. And listen, this isn't a strategy that you just do once. You can do this. You can do this for 15, 100 different people. So, right, like, take that one scenario. And the skills that you have, you're good at something. If you can't, if you're not, then you can learn, right? You don't have to be LeBron James to get on Canva and take a course. But let's say you did this for, let's call it 10 different people, right? If you did this for 10 different people every month for 4 months, that's 40 people that you added to your Rolodex, right? And over the course of that year, one of those 40 are going to turn into a customer. And if they don't, so what? Right?
You still learn something.
You still get to build a relationship.
Yeah.
Maybe they know something. Maybe they end up referring you to somebody else. Maybe they end up being somebody who gets on your podcast, or you don't even know where the relationship's going to go, right? Like,
right.
You never know. So that's why the most important thing you can do is just plant the seed and come from a place of service, really. That's
what the human spirit is about. That's what we're here for, to give. We're not, if the more we take, the more we actually lose, because now we can't store up everything and it's just digging up a hole. So you have to see what you can actually add value to, and then think about the reverse. Think about, what if I need something one day? Who's going to help me? You know, if you can't help me now, you think I'm going to help you in 2 years after I kind of like slammed the door in your face? No, you know, so you have to think about those scenarios, and coming from a good place, like you said, is where people actually feel that emotion. When you're selling something, it's an emotion. It's not a transaction. It's not a hard thing. It's a psychological process that says, hey, I need this and this is a value, so I'll pay because I deserve and I actually trust you. That's the convenience part. And if you're not able to get over that hurdle and say that this is what I'm looking for and this is what I need, and you're the one that can help me, and not be humble enough to take instruction, then we have a problem. So think about the career skills. Think about what we're doing now in 2021, digital learning. You've talked about different courses. You know, how do people create essential career skills? Because trust me, there is a lot of coaches. Like, I've never seen a splurge of coaches in my life.
Everybody's a coach now, right?
You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. Like, what's going on? Like, the funny part is, for me as a musician, as an artist, as a drummer, I've taken music and fashion in different spheres. And now I'm building courses. Of course, yeah, I had to go to school to learn. I didn't just go on Udemy and just pick 15 courses and random on binge watch. I had to literally understand, what is my purpose. If somebody knows something better than me, I'm gonna give that person that chance to shine and just divide the profit. Then we have 5 new clients. Now we can divide that time. Use Monday.com. Use something and create that workflow, because you can't go to the top by yourself. Nobody's at the top by themselves. So what are these 3 career skills, personable skills people can actually take in, and stop listening to all the jabble about courses, subscriptions, PDFs? Like, what's the real sauce? Where should people go to for that inner worth understanding and character building?
Yeah, I think there's, like, I like to think of it like, what are the 3 skills that will keep you from going broke and out of jail, right? One of it's a nice headline too. One of them is networking, right? But
right.
Like networking, like, it's not even networking, because that gets weird sometimes, right? It's like, build relationships, like authentically build relationships, which we just talked about, right?
Right.
We just talked about what that looks like. It's you being in service and not caring about the end result.
Correct.
The other one is income skills, right? So if you can buy all the stuff you want, you can buy these courses, you can hire a coach, you can do this and that, but if you ain't making no money, then it's not gonna work, right?
Exactly.
Income skills, right? Income skills. So that's comprised of being able to sell, right? Like, you need to be able to sell in your way, authentically, right? There's a time and a place for selling in the process, right? You need to learn how to sell. You need to understand where you fit in terms of the value, right? Like, what value do you have that the world will pay you for? So a lot of people don't even know what they have that's a value that people will pay them for. So this is an inventory of, like, you can even ask your friend, very basic, just go to the top 10 people that you trust. Shouldn't probably all be your family, because your family is they're either too honest or they don't tell you the truth. But people who know you, right? Like, maybe some of your closer friends, and just ask them, hey, what am I good at? Like, what am I really good at? Like, when you think of me and you see me, what do you think that I'm really good at? And they'll give you honest feedback. And maybe they'll say, hey, look, man, you're really good at, like, writing. Like, every time you write, or like every time you post on social, it's engaging. Like, I'm intrigued. I like, that's your bag, right? So that's something that people see you, like, people are not how you see yourself, because how we see ourselves is completely different, right? Like,
right.
We see ourselves as, being super great, Duncan, LeBron James, right? But we're really at the AAU court, just like, we can't even make a layup, right?
Right.
So when you ask the people around you, they're going to give you feedback. You take that feedback, and then you test, right? So I like anything that I do, I like to kind of put out a test to see if it's like something that people are going to pay me for. So when I launched my first business, it was it's a podcast editing service called Podbear, my first online business.
Yeah.
And I basically said, hey, does anybody have a podcast? I'll help you edit. It's $100 an episode, right? This is when I was getting started early on.
Yeah.
And my thought process was like, if I can get 3 customers to pay me for something, the amount of money is irrelevant, like when you're getting started.
Yeah.
But it's like you need to validate as quickly as possible.
Correct.
So you take this skill that you're perceived as having, you align it with a market, and then you test it. You can just go to people and be like, hey, look, for $50, I'll do all of your social media for like 2 weeks, right? Just whatever the numbers are irrelevant.
Right.
You're just trying to validate that this is something that you can monetize.
Correct.
So once you do that and you get your first 3 customers, okay, now you have yourself like a side hustle, right? Now
right.
You have yourself a side hustle and you can build off that. So that's the income skill, right? That's comprised of like selling and really just knowing the value that you bring to the marketplace and turning that into revenue.
Yeah.
And then the third skill, and I think this is huge, right? It's being able to, and we talked about this earlier, it's being able to connect and find a mentor, right? Not a coach. Yeah. A coach is different from a mentor because a coach tells you what to do. A mentor says, hey, like, what are you working on? Show me what you've done. Show me what. A mentor isn't someone you lean on to give you the answers. The mentor is a guide. They're just like, hey, have you thought of? They're asking you questions. They're more of guiding you. They're not giving you the answer. Where a coach is like, hey, you need to do this. A mentor will ask a question. It's like, do you think that that's the right path for you right now? And you'll internally, you'll have to answer that question yourself, which is what I do. I mentor people. I'm not a coach, right? I love coaches. And
let's get that straight.
They're great. I think that there's a lot of people out there pretending to be coaches. And the best way to evaluate if somebody's a good fit for you is just ask for their resume. Hey, what have you done? If someone's telling you they can help you build a 7-figure business, ask them to show you their tax returns or their bank statements, right? And then you'll know if they're really can be coaching what they do, right?
Right.
My track record speaks for itself. I can teach people how to pivot and mentor people how to pivot because I've been in like 4 or 5 different industries. I've had multiple careers. So like my track record speaks for itself. I don't have to have a beautiful sales page and an opt-in with a Facebook ad. And I don't have to sell you on it. I can just show you.
Exactly.
My catalog speaks for itself. So
there you go.
Those are the 3 skills I would say. Like building relationships. I don't even call it networking anymore because people are attached to that in a weird way.
Yeah.
So I'd say building relationships, income skills, right? So that's selling / knowing your value to the marketplace and being able to convert that into somebody paying you money, actual currency. And then the third one is mentorship. Being able to find the right mentor and not just the coach that's selling you on something that they probably haven't even done themselves.